Yo, what's going on, guys? Matthew B. Haynes here, aka the Clockmaster. Today I'm here to give you guys a spoiler-free review for the movie Prey.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.
Okay, guys, before I get started on this review, I got a chance to see this early. Of course, this is why you guys are getting to see this review. I did film my reaction alongside it. So my reaction itself will be released on Friday. So look out for that. I'll let you guys know when that reaction is out. But we're going to talk about Prey, man. I got a lot to say about this. As you can see, I'm pretty excited. But here we go. So Prey did something that I believed was completely impossible for this franchise. It gave a lot of heart, a passionate and powerful main character, beautiful cinematography, and most importantly, an amazing, strong, and fresh take on the Predator story. Now, my wife and I actually watched Predator for the first time about a week ago, something like that. It's on her channel. The movie reaction is on her channel, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. The link should be below for that. But yeah, I watched it, and if you guys watched that reaction, I didn't really like the movie too much. I didn't hate it, but I had a lot of issues with the film, mainly with not being able to connect to a lot of the characters. I felt like if I grew up watching that movie and watching those Predator films, I'd have a different approach to the entire franchise as a whole. But just watching that movie, it didn't leave me with anything that I felt connected to the characters. I mean, there were key things that I did like. I did like a lot of the set locations. I was very intrigued with the Predator himself as a character. I wanted to see where they were going with the story, and I guess I had a lot of expectations on what I wanted from that movie versus what I got, and I just kind of left feeling empty, wanting more from the franchise overall. I was definitely intrigued enough just to check out Prey in general because I saw that they were representing the Comanche people, and I've been very interested. For me, I was just from watching the trailer, I was like, man, like this looks like it can be really authentic and really true, and it's really like such a cool experience. So I'm like, yeah, I need to see this. And then obviously the Predator part of it as well, being part of the franchise, I guess essentially being a prequel or a requel, as they would say in the Scream movies, because I know they're trying to, you know, refresh the brand of the Predator storylines. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm all in. Anyways, guys, this movie Prey is directed by Dan Trachtenberg. This movie is starring Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, Stormy Kipp, Michelle Thrush, Julian Black Antelope. So instantly, guys, some of my pros, I'm going to discuss my pros and cons in this video. So if you guys want to just skip to certain parts of the video, you can go ahead and do so. So one of the pros that I have that I had in this film is the scale and overall atmosphere of the movie. I mean, this movie, the beautiful set locations was amazing, man. The beautiful mountains, the mist, the sun, the grass, the forest, like everything from this film just looked amazing on a cinematic level. Like, just that's one of the things that always brings me into a movie. If you can get a nice set location, a good filming location, that's one of the things that will draw me in instantly. That's one of the things that I loved about Mr. Deakins' work in the Bond franchise. Just like a lot of those shots and those locations were amazing. So going into this movie, just from the trailers alone, I'm like, okay, this looks like it could be really cool. It doesn't feel like an isolated thing and they're confined in a small box. It's very grand, it's big, and you feel the overall presence of their environment. And that's one of the things that I loved about this film. And obviously, y'all know I'm a musician. You guys know, some of you guys who've already been to the channel, you know I'm a musician, you know I'm a producer, aspiring film composer. I love my music, I love playing music, I love making music, I love listening to music. So another pro for me was the music, was the overall score by Sarah Schechter. So her music, I became such a huge fan of her in general from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like, that's one of the main reasons why I decided to play Valhalla, even though I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan in general. One of the reasons I decided to play that game was because of her music. I loved what she did with the themes. I loved what she did with the overall, like, her research on getting authentic Norse instruments and using them within the game and the overall soundtrack. And she did a very similar thing here with this film. I mean, the music has a lot of really cool ethereal kind of vibes to it. You feel the overall presence of everything that you're seeing on there, just strictly from the music, and it wasn't something forgettable. And obviously Alan Silvestri did a great job with the original Predator soundtrack, but this one literally takes that and fits everything that it needs to fit in for this film, and it works very well. All right, guys, obviously you're not going to get a Predator movie without the action sequences, and Honestly, that's one of the things that I didn't like about the original Predator movie. It relied heavily on guns and marksmanship, and I understand that does have its own, it is considered action, it is an action movie, and I talked at length about this in the reaction to Predator. But I'm not a huge fan of like gun action sequences. It really all depends on what it is. I've always been interested in like pirate type stuff because it requires a different level of marksmanship at that time, how to use the guns, how to reload them with the gunpowder and everything. It required a different set of skills. Nowadays, anybody can just aim and pull a trigger, right? So like, I'm not trying to say that people don't know, because there's a lot of people who don't know how to use gun. It's not, I'm just trying to say it's not really my favorite type of action sequences usually. I'm more of the hand-to-hand combatant type of person. I love when a person can be resourceful. I love when people can utilize different more like melee tools, and even if they are using like long distance weapons, I prefer like bows and arrows, and like that's just a preference of mine. So in this movie, the action sequences were just amazing. You were seeing a wide array of different types of combatants. You did have the long range weapons, and you had a lot of hand-to-hand combat and very unique fighting styles, and everything was just really cool in terms of the action sequences. And obviously what they did with the Predator in this one as well was just fantastic, and the way how they they utilize the weapons in this, and the way how they utilize the action sequences, and the way how they filmed them as well was something that was super cool to me. They do some really awesome stuff, really unique things with the filmmaking process with the action sequences in this movie. So that's another pro for me. And one of the things that was a con for me in Predator, which is not the same here, was that in Predator, the main characters, I didn't really connect too much to them. I didn't really connect to any of them. I didn't really too much care for them. In this movie, I loved the main character. I loved everything about her. I loved her whole drive, her purpose, every goal that she was trying to achieve. That was something that really drew me in with her character. I loved everything about her character. So we had a really captivating main character, and to me, that's leaps and bounds better than what we had in the Predator film, guys. Like, having a strong character to me is something that will really set apart a lot of things. Like, if you can have a really good strong character and the audience can connect to that character and connect to that character's journey, is something that's super important to me. So having a strong character, definitely a plus for me. And earlier in the video, I talked about the representation of the Comanche peoples, and this is not a quote from me, so something I'm about to read here, this is something that was included in the press notes, and I figured I would just read. So this is not my quote, I'm just rereading some information here. But the filmmakers were committed to creating a film that provides an accurate portrayal of the Comanche and brings a level of authenticity that rings true to its indigenous peoples. Myers, an acclaimed filmmaker, Sundance Fellow, and member of the Comanche Nation herself, is known for her attention and dedication to the films surrounding the Comanche and Blackfeet nations, and her passion and honoring of the legacies of the Native communities. As a result, the film features a cast comprised almost entirely of Native and First Nations talent. To me, that's something that's really cool, man. Like, getting people from the nation to come in and film this movie and be involved in the actual storytelling process and the authenticity and the realness behind all of that, because it's one thing you don't need another person who's not from, a specific culture just going in and making a movie based on what they think that culture should do or what they think is acceptable based on stereotypes or filmmaking tropes or things that we've seen throughout our history. Having people come in and actually offer real, genuine, and authentic representation as to what their people do, how they operate, how they speak, their language, the depths of it, their culture, and everything in between, all the little details that was shown throughout this film, makes it feel more real, and it makes it, you feel the love behind that. And I genuinely appreciated that, guys, because like I said, I was interested in this movie going into it, but I didn't know if I was gonna really like it or hate it. I just wanted to see what we were gonna get from this film. And honestly, I love when authenticity is brought onto the forefront, especially with different cultures that don't typically get the highlight in the foreground, right? So that's something that's super important to me as well, and I love that. I loved everything that I saw in this film concerning that. So as for cons, guys, I don't have too much. I've only seen the movie once at this point. I'm going to rewatch it again. I may have different feelings later on if I do a spoiler review for this, but I wish that the film was longer, and that's not a bad thing. It's like a good and a bad thing. Like, I wish the film was longer. It's not bad per se that it is a shorter film. you know, hour 30-something minutes or so, but I did wish it was a little bit longer, and not in a bad way, just because I didn't feel like this movie had any pacing issues. I personally had pacing issues with the first Predator. This one, I didn't have any pacing issues. I really liked the overall pacing of the film, and I was very, like, you know, drawn in to the characters, to the stories. I wanted to constantly and continually see what was going to happen, how things were going to play out. That was something that was keeping me on my toes. So I didn't feel like I was, you know, everything was rushed. Like, I just wish it was longer because I liked it more. I didn't see more of it. So that's definitely one of the cons. I wished, another con of mine is that I wish we had more of the Comanche language in the film. Now I'm not going to touch too much on this because this can kind of get into spoiler territory. There is Comanche speaking within this. I just wish there was more. So I hope, and I've actually heard that there's supposed to be a Comanche cut of this, like a version where the entire movie might be in Comanche. So we'll have to see if they actually do this. But that's something that I would really love. But that's it, guys. I really don't have any more like cons on the film as of right now. I love pretty much every aspect of this movie, from the acting to the overall character building to the story to the world building to the atmosphere, everything, the action sequences, all of that was every single technical detail that you look for in movies is what I really liked in this film. So I'm actually walking out with this movie with a 9.5 out of 10. I only leave the 0.5. A matter of fact, I'm just gonna do this for now. I'm gonna give this movie a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give this movie a 10 out of 10. That is my score right now. I always leave like a 9.5 just for a margin of error, but I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 because that's just how I feel right now, based on the criteria that I have for myself and for movies that I watch, and met all of my expectations. Things that I love from filmmaking, things that I love from movies, and I just had a great time overall watching this movie. Can't wait to rewatch it again. Can't wait to, I mean, hopefully they release this movie on Blu-ray or something so I can actually own this movie, like, or 4K. I would love for them to release this movie on 4K outside of Hulu, the Hulu release. So anyways, this movie releases August 5th on Hulu. Please, Hulu exclusive. I also wish I had a theater release besides the one they showed at San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah, hopefully they do maybe re-release it in theaters and give us a 4K UHD disc that we can buy and add to our movie collections. That would be so awesome. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was of some value to you. Please make sure to check out my Rotten Tomatoes review. It is up right now for this film and other films. I'm still adding more. Well, actually, no, it's not up right now. It should be up for this next week. Sorry, I had to do a correction to that. By the time you're seeing this review, maybe later on, it'll be up. But it'll be up like sometime next week. So just make sure to check out that. My Rotten Tomatoes critic reviews to this. I definitely have a score for this, and can't wait to see exactly what's going to turn out to be. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next one. Clockmaster out.